Now let's talk about cold emails. I am particularly excited about the integration of R and Python in the coursework. If you're on LinkedIn, you've likely come across a post by a professor, talking about the fact that they have a lab which is open and they are looking for students to, work in those labs. And so normally the professor will leave their email address so that if you are interested, you can send them an email with, things about you, like your resume and maybe your transcript, to show that you are a fit for the position. So because of this, a lot of students get worried when they send cold emails and then they don't get any reply back. And a lot of students also think that they have to send an email to a potential advisor, a potential supervisor, before they actually submit an application. Now there is a place for cold emails, and in this video I'm going to give you 3 samples. One for if you wanna, before you apply to a school, the kind of cold email you can send to the coordinator. And also if you are looking for a lab position, the kind of email you can send to a potential supervisor. And also after you have received an admission, the kind of cold email you can send. A lot of students don't understand how busy professors are. Like in the US, professors are so busy, like very, very busy. I am a 4th-year PhD student, yet when I send an email to my supervisor, it takes time. It takes days before I actually get a reply. So you being outside the country and trying to get into a program and you are worried because your email hasn't been replied to and all of that, that's not how it works. And so you can actually go ahead and apply to school even if you don't get a reply. I'm going to tell you the place of cold emails. It is not like cold emails are a must. The first thing I want you to understand is that graduate schools have requirements. So the requirements are things that you have to submit if you are looking for admission and possibly funding. So you have to meet all the requirements, and then you have to make sure your application materials, which are the requirements actually, they have to be very solid, because your application is going to be compared with a lot of other people, and then they are going to decide on which application is strongest or which applications are stronger compared to the application pool. And so your main focus is to make sure you submit an application that is very competitive. Now let's say you are interested in applying to a particular school, but then you go to their website and then you don't find certain information. Then you have to write to the graduate coordinator or director of the program. This person is the one who knows a lot about the program and can tell you more about the minimum GPA requirements, minimum GRE requirements, and even whether the GRE is required or not. This person knows a lot about admission and funding into the program than anybody else, because that person has been charged with that responsibility. Now I tell students that before you apply to any school, if you know you cannot fund yourself, the first thing that you have to look out for is funding opportunities. And so if you check and then there is no funding, you have to send an email to make sure there is funding for international students before you submit an application. And this is where cold email is very important. Now there are some programs where you are going to work in a lab, and so the professors in the school are given the opportunity to select their own students. And so these professors will allow students to reach out to them and then submit their portfolio to show them that they are a good fit for the professor to be in their lab. And so in that case, you have to secure a supervisor. This is the case for a lot of Canadian schools. Canadian schools will require you to get an advisor or a supervisor before you submit an application. If your program is not a lab program, you don't need to secure a supervisor or advisor. If you want to send an email, you just have to send it to the coordinator of the program to find out about certain things. There are times where the program has stated everything that you need to know, but then you may still want to send an email to establish a rapport with the coordinator or try to flatter the person in a way. Before you apply, you can send an email to the person and attach certain documents to let them give you an idea whether you can get into the program or not. I want you to understand that there are 3 main categories of cold emails that students are expected to send. One has to do with when you want to apply to a program, but then you go to their website and then you don't find certain information, like information about funding, about minimum GPA requirements and stuff like that. you can reach out to the director or the coordinator of the program and ask about these things. You have to craft your email carefully and nicely so that the person will pay attention to your email. And this email is specifically to the coordinator or director of the program. The second thing is that there are some programs where you will need to secure a supervisor. Programs that have lab work, you would have to get a supervisor in most cases. This is where you are going to see professors post on LinkedIn that they are looking for people to work in their labs. So with such programs, it means that you would have to send an email to a potential supervisor for the person to accept to work with you, because this person in a way is going to fund you. If you apply to the program, you get admission, and then you don't have a supervisor, you are not going to be funded. And so with such programs, chemistry, biology, computer science, you may have to get a supervisor. For a lot of other programs, like economics, sociology, and all of that, you probably don't need to get a supervisor. I know about people who got supervisors before they came, but then when they arrive here, they realize that actually the professors that they secured had nothing to do with the admission and funding that they got. Before they came, they thought that it's something that they had to do because it was like everybody was talking about, such things. But the reality is that when it comes to applications, everything is actually going to be based on mainly on the application requirements. If something is not a requirement, then it's an optional thing that can help you in a way, but in most cases it's not going to help you. If somebody has a stronger application materials than you, and so therefore the person submits a stronger application, that person is going to be selected over you, even if you send cold emails to all the professors in a department. And so your focus first has to do with the requirements. In some schools, admission will come first before funding, and so after you have received the admission, you can decide to send a cold email to the director or the coordinator of the program. Now, such emails, you have to be very careful and send a good one. And so while you wait for funding, you can send such emails, or you can also wait until funding decisions have been made, and let's say you don't get any funding, then you can reach out to the director or the coordinator of the program and try to make a case in a way. This one too, you have to be very careful. The reason is that sometimes people will be given funding, but then they will refuse to go to that particular school. Students apply to many programs at the same time, and so some students will be able to reject certain offers and then take up only one. If a student is given the offer but the student refuses to go to that particular school, because you have been sending cold emails and expressing genuine interest in the program, you may be considered. And so in that case, a cold email can help you. I've also come across students who write cold emails to professors requesting for application fee waivers. Now, I would not advise you to do that. It doesn't make any sense to me, because the reality is that even if you get a full GA, which covers everything, you are still expected to spend money on the flights, on the visa processing, and other expenses. If you can spend money on the visa processing fee, then why are you even asking for the application fee waivers in the first place? Now, if you attend an information session, then you can use that as a leverage to request for application fee waivers. But if you've not attended any information session and then you just wake up one day sending an email to the coordinator, director of the program, or a professor in the school asking for a fee waiver, that doesn't make any sense to me. I would not recommend that. Flights will cost you more than $1,000, and so if you cannot spend $50 or $70 on application fees, then you cannot buy your flight to the school or to the coordinator. You will probably be wasting their time if they give you the GA, because you don't have the money. That's what it means, right? So I would not advise any student to do that kind of thing. Let me give you important tips when it comes to sending cold emails. One of them has to do with your email address. You have to make sure your email address doesn't have any numbers. If your current email address has numbers, then you have to create a new one with just your name, ideally. They get a lot of emails, and so if you want them to prioritize your email, then you have to send your email with an email address that doesn't have any number. That shows credibility. A lot of emails with numbers are sent from people who are fraudsters, and so it doesn't really help if you send an email with numbers. The second thing that I want students to pay attention to is the time of the day that they send cold emails, because I will not prefer to receive an email early in the morning when I have so many things going on. Ideally, you should send your email around 2 p.m., 3 p.m., or even 4 p.m. because that is the time the professor is wrapping up their work for the day, and they probably have some time to be able to read emails. And so ideally, make sure you check the time difference and know your time zone and be able to send the email at the right time, ideally between 2 p.m. and then 4 p.m. because around that time, the professor has a lot of time to be able to read your emails and even respond to you. So please check the time of the day you send cold emails, and try to avoid sending emails, in the night and also on weekends. People don't have to work on weekends, and so if you want to send an email, even don't send emails on Mondays and Tuesdays. I would prefer sending emails from Wednesdays to Fridays. Or you can actually include Tuesdays, but don't send emails on Mondays because yeah, Mondays are busy days. Yeah, if you send an email on Monday, the professor might not actually look at it. Another thing that I want you to pay attention to is the kind of email that you send. You have to make sure your email doesn't have any error, any grammatical error, and your email has a purpose. Like you have to know exactly why you are writing. Don't just write anything to the professor. So there should be clarity, there should be purpose to the email that you send to the professor. It is important that the professor can actually read your email and understand what you mean so that they can actually respond to them accordingly. If not, then there is no point replying to your email. Another thing that you have to pay attention to is the frequency of the email. If you bombard a professor with too many emails, they are likely to ignore your future emails. And so you have to take your time and then be strategic. Ideally, if you send an email and you don't get any reply, you have to wait at least 1 month before you send another one. Yeah, this shows that you respect and all of that. So yeah, that's what I can tell you. The other thing also is that before you send the email, make sure you express genuine interest in the program. Try to address the person very well, know a little bit about the person ideally, because people like to be flattered, and so it is very important that you flatter a person in a nice way. Now, like I said before, if the program is not a lab program, then you probably have to send your email to the coordinator or director of the program. Now, if you have been waiting for admission and funding and then the deadline hasn't passed, don't be quick to send an email. Wait for them to make a decision because there is no point. If the deadline hasn't passed, you have no reason to send an email to the person. So wait until they have made a decision. And, sometimes you can actually, if you've not heard from them after 2 weeks, after the admission, deadline closes, then you can send an email. But even that, it is not ideal because yeah, you have to give them time to make a decision, right? After the admission closes, they would have to sit down and then make a decision. And this can actually take time. It can even take up to a month, especially for programs where admission and funding decisions come together, which means that they are not just deciding on those that they are going to give admission to, but also those they are giving funding to. With such programs, you have to give them time, give them at least 1 month after the admission deadline passes. If you keep sending emails to the coordinator or director of the program, even before the deadline passes, the person might actually interpret that as, you not being a strong candidate and you are desperate and that school is your only hope. That you don't want to appear like that. And so you have to give them time because, yeah, normally you are going to apply to several universities. Don't make it look like one school is the only school that you considered, that it's do or die for you. So my point is that you always have to give them time. Don't be quick to be sending cold emails. Give them time to make decisions. If they make a decision, let's say they make admission decision, you get admission, but then you don't get funding or something, then yeah, you might want to send an email. But your job is to meet the requirements and then stand out. Once in a while, you may want to send cold emails, but you have to have a good reason for sending them. Now let's get into the samples. Now these samples are just to guide you. You can actually improve on them. Depending on why you are sending the email, you can, change a few things and all of that. So the first email is, if you want to send an email to the coordinator or director of a program before applying to the school. So we can start with the subject, which is inquiry about economics graduate program. Then you can say, Dear Professor D, I hope this email finds you well. My name is Shy Guys, and I'm writing to express my strong interest in the economics program at A University. I have thoroughly researched the program and I'm impressed by its outstanding reputation, rigorous curriculum, and esteemed faculty. I am particularly excited about the integration of R and Python in the coursework as it aligns well with my academic and career aspirations in development economics. Before proceeding with my application, I will appreciate any information you could provide regarding the GRE requirements and available funding opportunities for prospective international students. Thank you for your time and assistance. I look forward to your response. Best regards, Shy Guys. You can see from this email that my name appears twice. So my thing is, you can just ignore the first mention of your name, but then what I have seen, from elsewhere is that, people like to mention their names because you don't know this person. And so you want to mention your name so the person knows about you. I remember when I received an email from IEA that have been selected to present my PhD paper in the PhD competition. The person who sent me the email didn't mention his name. So yeah, you don't have to really mention your name, but then if you want, you can also mention your name because yeah, you want the person to know who you are. So that's also fine. That works. The second email can be sent to a potential supervisor before applying to the program. And so the subject can be inquiry about research opportunities in your lab. Dear Professor D, I hope you are doing well. My name is Shy Guys, and I completed my bachelor's degree in chemistry from the University of Cape Coast in 2021. I am currently working as a lab technician at ABC Company. I am planning to pursue graduate studies at B University in fall 2025 and would love the opportunity to contribute to your ongoing research project. During my undergraduate studies at the University of Cape Coast, I referenced your paper on the use of ABC chemicals for freshwater production in my thesis on chemicals used in water management. Since then, I have been particularly interested in this field. Through my research on Google Scholar, I discovered that your current work closely aligns with my academic background and research interests. I will be honored to learn from your expertise and contribute my skills to your lab. I have attached my resume, transcript, and undergraduate thesis for your review. Thank you for your time and consideration. I look forward to your response. Then, best regards, Shy Guys. So let's say you send this particular email and then you don't get any reply back. Then you can send another one and say, follow up on research opportunity inquiry. So, dear Professor D, I hope you are doing well. I wanted to follow up on my previous email regarding potential research opportunities in your lab. I understand that you have a busy schedule, but I wanted to reiterate my strong interest in your work and my eagerness to contribute to your ongoing research project. If there are any available opportunities or if you require additional information from me, I will be happy to provide it. I truly appreciate your time and consideration, and I look forward to your response. Best regards, Shy Guys. Then you can also send an email to the coordinator or director of the program after receiving admission and waiting for funding. So you can just say gratitude and inquiry on preparation for graduate studies. So you can say, Dear Professor D, I hope you are doing well. I would like to sincerely thank you and the admissions committee for considering my application and offering me admission to the economics program at ABC University. I am truly honored and excited about the opportunity to join the program. As I await the department funding decision, I wanted to ask if there are any specific skills or areas of knowledge I should focus on to better prepare for the program. I will greatly appreciate any guidance you can provide to me. Thank you for your time and consideration. I look forward to your response. Best regards, Shy Guys. Now, this particular email, I think it is very important that you send it within a week of receiving the admission, because if you wait, like for maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month before sending such email, it's like you are not an honest person, because it's like, because you are waiting for funding and you are desperate for funding, that's why you're sending such an email. So if you intend to send a follow-up email like that, you have to send it as soon as possible. So this is my take on cold emails. I hope you have enjoyed it. Let me know what you think about it in the comment section.